Hello everyone, and welcome to match day 5 of the first Choker Challenge Cup on Chess24. I'm Malcolm Payne, an international master of chess. I'll be commentating on Choker tonight for you. I'm honoured to have as my co-commentator Jeff Gross, a legendary poker professional with over $5 million of tournament earnings and one of the most popular streamers of the game. Jeff will be offering insights into the poker in Choker, while I'll commentate on the fast and furious chess phase of this revolutionary new game. My thanks again to Chess24 for hosting, and don't forget that Choker is a free-to-play game. To join the fun, just download the app from the either Apple Store or via Google Play. So tonight's match is our first semi-final between an international master, Eric Rosen from Canada, and Raffael Chess, who's kind of Mr. Chess in Brazil. Both got through really, really interesting and tough round one matches. We saw a lot of unusual Choker, but our impression is, as I'm sure Jeff will elucidate, we think that everybody's kind of learning on the game. Jeff, what was your impression of the betting styles of our two players in the first round?
Yeah, I think that it's clear that moving along, people have been paying attention. I think some of the opponents have noticed that it is, of course, important to pay attention to how much you're wagering, how much you're putting in, and what pieces you have. And there are times when it's okay to fold, and also times when it may make sense to bluff or go all in. So I think we really got to see that in the Bill Perkins Matt Staples match. There was a lot of betting. Of course, we got to see 2-0 and then come back all the way 3-2 for Bill to win. But we did see that, you know, it is important on that. So I think that's going to be interesting today in this semifinal to see how these players have maybe adapted, maybe they've learned, watched some film, and have put some more efforts into that portion of the game. Because I think, you know, Eric Rosen and Raffael, they're both not, you know, they know how to play chess. They know how to execute that part of the game. We're, of course, learning the positions and sort of nuances of Choker. But I think that's something that really no one has experience with, is the betting, and other than some of the poker players in here, which was Bill and Matt.
Yeah, it was like on match day 3, we got lessons in the poker in Choker, really. I think it was the first time when we saw more nuanced betting. Certainly in the first match when Eric played Simon Williams, Simon was really betting quite, almost randomly. He was going in, he was being super aggressive, and Eric wasn't fazed by that, right? He handled it very well, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was sort of just all in and go with whatever pieces were dealt. And I think, honestly, I think it could have worked out either way, right? You're just pushing the variance a bit on that, sort of, because there is a disparity when you have much better pieces. You're going to be at a big disadvantage, and that is in your control to actually fold. Whereas, you know, in regular chess, if you get in a bad situation at an early stage of the game, you can't just. Well, you can, but you'll lose, right? You can't just say, all right, let's reset the board and play. So, you know, that's definitely one of the more interesting components of Choker. And I think we're seeing it more attention given to that portion, the phase of the game, if you will, as we've continued along this tournament.
Right. I mean, on the chess side tonight, Rafael Santos, so he's Mr. Chess in Brazil. He's a very, very popular streamer. We've got a very, very big following on YouTube. But I checked with him just before we came on air, and he doesn't actually have an official chess rating, whereas Eric is an IM. So you'd have thought if all things are equal on the betting side, that Eric would be something of a favorite. But I have to say, the way Rafael confused Anna Rudolph in the first round with that, it was almost like the pre-move of a pre-move. Like he saw Anna's pre-move coming. A pre-move is where you input a move in anticipation of what your opponent's move will be. And it was almost like Raphael predicted what Anna would do in that way, but kind of tricked her, and it cost her a few vital seconds, and she ended up not winning that particular hand, and Raphael went on to win. So he's a real tricky customer when it comes to the chess. So I wouldn't underestimate him, even if I think, according to the form book and certainly the ratings, Eric is the favorite.
So it's getting close to getting to the wire here. I think Bill made that exciting comeback, and Miss Botez, you know, she's got a very popular Twitch stream, and Bill has a stream as well. I'm looking forward to that match, but this is the other semifinal first. So let's. Who do you got today? Who do you like? Do you know? You don't know too much. I guess we've seen them a little bit. Who do you like, Malcolm? Who do you think gets it done today?
Well, I feel Eric has to be slight favourite just because he's a professional chess player. Certainly, Raphael is a chess professional, but he can't have the same amount of chess skills. He might have kind of blitz chess skills, I think, which could be interesting. This could help him quite a lot. But overall, I would have thought that tactical vision-wise, Eric just should come out slightly ahead. But in Choker, absolutely anything can happen. It depends what pieces you get, what cards you get. And here it looks like we've got one of these games with no queens. Or is that a promoted queen I see there?
Yeah, it's also interesting to know. I mean, this is a 19K pot. This is for all the marbles right here, because this is 1,000 behind for Raffael, although the big blind is larger than 1K. So this is essentially,
wow.
This is whoever gets this one done is going to win it. We're in the chess phase already, so important.
Yeah, important. This is effectively all in, isn't it, Jeff? Because the loser won't be able to meet the big blind. So
yep,
this will be 1-0 for somebody.
Unless a draw, right? But it's
they could draw. Yep, they could draw. So Eric's got a queen against 2 rooks. He's got a queen and a pawn against 2 rooks. Now that's intriguing because a queen is worth 9 points in chess. A pawn 1, that's 10. Rooks are 5 each. So notionally, this is about equal. But I think I'd prefer to have the queen and the pawn. Just somehow, because the queen can whiz around on this open board, because you start only with 14 instead of 32 pieces in a choker game. A normal chess game starts with 32 pieces. So I think I'd prefer the queen, but this is a configuration of pieces that we've never seen before. This is real interesting. So Eric's bringing his knight up, and Raphael's countering with the same idea. I think Eric now could possibly bring his knight forward, which he's done. So that knight's very well placed, and Raphael's actually just retreated back into his shell. So the question is now, can Eric maybe bring his other knight forward? No, he's decided not to. He's putting that knight in quite an aggressive place. That knight's looking at that square. It could get a bit nasty. Check. Okay, we have our first check, and you see that the king is flashing for people new to the game, new to looking at Choker. When the king flashes, it's in check. So the king sidesteps that check. But there's a really evil possibility here. Fortunately, it's not a threat at the moment because that knight is covering it. So the black knight can't dive in because the white knight at the bottom of the board there is covering it. So Eric just retreats. How are we doing clockwise? God, they're almost level. 78 plays 77. Okay, so Eric's bringing up the reinforcements. That knight could be coming in here. I think Raphael's struggling to coordinate his rooks, and Eric has this nice little bolt hole for his king here, which is extremely helpful.
Yeah, white's pretty compact there in the back, but seems like that the time now too. The time's always interesting. It just seems like it's safe, and then all of a sudden you can tell it starts getting tight. So
it's panic stations. He's allowed the check. He's allowed the check. Knight in check, but I'm not sure that it actually wins. Can Eric exploit this? Because what we've got now, this is very unpleasant. So we've got this, what's called a pin. I've blotted it out completely there, but that is called a pin. The queen is harassing the knight. The knight can't move because otherwise it would be check. So Raphael's in a bit of a bind here. He's in a bit of a bind. He can't move his rook because he needs his rook to protect the knight. And the knight can't move and the king can't move. So actually this is really a problem. Can Eric go in for the kill here? He's got a spare knight. That knight can maybe dive in somewhere. No, he's playing a quiet move, just moving his pawn up there. Raphael's trying to get out the pin, but he's forced straight back in by Eric with check. Eric now coming forward with the pawns. Okay, he's got 24 seconds to finish this. Rook attacks the queen. Queen must move out the way. Queen moves out the way, but Eric has got 21 seconds for the kill. He's got to move. He's just got to charge down the board. Or maybe knight in. Yeah, knight in. Threatening queen takes knight check. This is very unpleasant. I think Eric might be able to do this, even though he's only got 18 seconds. Raphael's shaking his head. He knows that was a mistake. Now, knight takes knight check is winning lots of material. That's winning an entire rook. It's winning a knight for a rook, followed by a rook for a knight. He's won an entire rook. Now he needs to mate with queen and knight. And as we've said before, queen and knight, they're all right. They complement each other. They move in two two different ways. You've got more or less every single chess move on the board when you have a queen and a knight. That loses. Rook d2 loses. Oh, but he missed his chance there, Eric. Played a quick move, knight h3 check. That wasn't so great. He's lost his coordination momentarily and allowed a nasty comeback. Rook check. Now that rook needs
time. Time is
time. 8 seconds, plays 6. Queen check. Oh, now he's winning the rook. He's winning the rook. Oh, he's taking it. Oh, but he's allowed a fork. That's amazing. Absolutely incredible. He's been tricked out of it at the death. He was winning and he knows it. Oh, that was brilliant from Raffael. He might not have a chess rating, but he can play a game of chess.
That was
tremendous.
What a finish. Man, came down.
Wow. His fans will be loving that.
What a draw.
Okay, back to the betting phase.
10.5 to 9.5.
Gosh. Back to the beginning. Okay, it's pawn again. So you either check with that, do you, and see if you can get a promotion, or you fold it. I think he's folded it once and checked once. Okay, in the pot. Okay, that's a slight edge for Eric, a rook against a minor piece against a bishop, but Raffael actually has got 3 minor pieces. He's got knight, knight, bishop. Eric's all in.
There it is. Here we go. Playing for it again. Again, the 1K behind is trivial because it is basically.
And he got a promotion. Jeff, he got a promotion at the last. So you've got to say, I think Eric should be favorite here. Okay, we've got those pawns on the edge there. That's interesting.
Yeah, we were saying the pawns generally want to be kind of by the king, protecting.
That's right.
See a little bit of a.
That's real aggressive
setup. Yeah,
it's real aggressive. I think the assumption is, and this was something that Alexandra pointed out that I was really impressed by in the interview afterwards, that because when she put a pawn, do you remember she put a pawn out there on the side of the board, and I was going, why did she do that? But actually, she was already thinking of the situation, what we call in chess the end game, where there aren't very many pieces on the board. She kind of sussed she kind of sussed that Alessio didn't actually have a queen, so she didn't need the pawns right by the king so much. Interesting. Yeah. So look at this. So look at these 2 rooks. These 2 rooks are fantastic. They've got the up and down here. Whoops. They've got the up and down. They're flying up and down the board. This is going to be very unpleasant. Very, very, very unpleasant. You'll see another rook's going to come in here. Bishop's going to come here. It's pin and win again. That horrible lateral pin of the knight. The rook is pinning the knight. And that's it. Gone. Raffael gave up. He could see he was going to get crushed and just resigned. Eric had loads of time. So there it is. Yep.
Raffael. Oh, but
Eric's one up.
1-0.
So the first person to 3 wins. So it's not quite elimination station for Raffael just yet. I didn't actually see, Jeff. Who actually went all in first? I got the impression it was Eric. He had the slightly better hand, I think.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Of course, the betting comes real quick because your clock is ticking down during the betting as well, so you can't afford to think for too long. But actually, Raffael struck a great blow with that knight fork at the end of the first game, where he saved himself from an absolutely desperate position. I'm getting something actually from the producers that Eric, if Eric gets a rook or a queen, he likes to go all in. That's interesting. So it's worth recapping actually how Choker works, the 3 phases of the game. So you have the betting phase, then the placement phase, which is really important, where you put the pieces, and then the actual chess. And you've got to be good. You've got to be good at all 3 to be the complete Choker player. Right? Eric got a very poor hand and folded straight away there.
Yep. No, we're seeing some discipline executed here. Definitely, we're seeing some folds, some pot control. We're not just seeing the all-in and hope method.
Ooh, Raffael is a big favorite here. Rook bishop plays pawn, but Eric draws a queen. Ooh.
Queen is nice. You always feel good with that big.
You really do.
Queen. It does feel very strong.
Eric's actually had a demotion though because he drew a second queen. It got taken down. That's the purple card you see on the right. I think he's going. Yeah. Okay, knight is not too bad. Queen and knight, they're all right, but that's what, 9, 12, 15 points Eric's got. Raffael has 3, 6, 11, 16, 19. Wow.
Yeah,
but no pawns.
His hand looks very... Every piece has no pawn. That's pretty... That's
going to be weird because... Yeah, that I don't think have we seen that? Yeah, I don't think we've seen that in the Poker Challenge Cup, a no pawn hand. But that means that he'd probably have to use some of his extra points to protect his king. He can't leave his king wide open. If Eric's got a queen and a knight, because the queen moves vertically and horizontally and diagonally, and the knight moves in an L shape, you have the complete suite of possible chess maneuvers with queen and knight. So. But it looks like Eric folded it in the end.
Yeah, so again, still plenty of play left to see. Well, actually, it's pot's 11.5K, so Raffael here can lean. He's got a little backup. If he were to not win, he would still have 8,500. They could play again, but this is up to Eric now, who is at risk.
So it's rook, knight, bishop, and 2 pawns against rook, knight, and 2 bishops and pawns. So slight edge for Raffael, but this is pretty random. I wouldn't say it was... I mean, certainly on paper, you'd think Raffael had a small advantage here. He's certainly material up a little bit, but it's such a weird configuration. I've got to say, Jeff, sometimes the way choker hands work out, that they're not, I can't relate them to anything in my normal chess experience sometimes, and this is one of those.
Yeah, it's definitely some bizarre piece matchups you don't generally see. This is it's been interesting. 1-0. This would be, going down to 2-0 is very difficult to come back. Although we did see that Bill Perkins accomplished that versus Matt Staples, being down 2-0 coming back. So, of course, possible, just not fun when you're at risk.
Okay, so I think Eric's going to be rather disappointed when he sees Raffael play that rook. Yeah, there he goes.
There it is. Kind of jumped out of his seat.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think he thought he might have the edge materially, but actually he's down a little bit. You can see that Raffael's got an extra bishop compared with one of Eric's pawns. So it's very difficult, actually, for Eric to go on the offense here at all. The bishop that you should look out for here, the bishop that is the danger bishop, is that one, because that's the one that hasn't got an opponent. That bishop is operating on white squares. So in chess, you have 2 bishops. One operates on black squares, one operates on white squares. And when you have what's called the 2 bishops against bishop and knight, the bishop that's the most powerful is the one that doesn't have an opposite number, and it's that guy. Okay, so Eric's moved his rook up a little bit, playing it very slowly, keeping his king as far back as possible. Oh, he's just blundered. No, he hasn't blundered. I thought he'd blundered. I think he thought he blundered as well, but he hadn't. That knight was covering that square, so it didn't matter. Okay, check to the king. King moves 1 to the right, and the king's got a nice little escape square there, which Eric immediately takes advantage of. He's forcing Raffael back. So Eric actually just sitting pretty, trying to play quickly. I think this is just going to come down to the speed. I think you just want to be playing all your moves almost in 1, maximum 2 seconds here. That's got to be the strategy. Just instant chess. And it's funny that very often, and we saw this actually on Chess 24 in the chess tournament, the Lindori's Abbey Challenge, that when Nakamura was playing the Armageddon games when there's no time at all, he said he really liked to have a situation where even if his position wasn't that great, he just had easy moves. Moves are just easy, quick to play. So I think we got to keep a real eye on the clock here. Eric's a few seconds up?
I guess, and that where it really separates if you are, obviously in chess, you're watching your opponent very closely, but if you're able to predict what they're going to do, you're kind of trying to do that as they're moving. You're thinking, what are they going to do? And then how will you do as well?
Absolutely. That's one of the things. Yeah, that's one of the things that we're very keen to put into Choker is the pre-move.
Right.
So you not only do you see it, you anticipate it with the mouse, and at the instant they make their move, your move appears on the board, and you don't consume any time. I think this one's just going to go to the wire on the clock, because actually very little is happening on the chess side. You can see there have been no advances of pawns. There have been no exchanges of pieces. Now for the first time we got a concrete idea. The bishop was threatening to take the knight. The knight goes away and says, no, I don't want you to take me. Now the best move for that bishop would be there, where it dominates the knight. That would be mean and nasty. Okay, but he's overlooked his rook. Oh, but he's attacking Eric's rook. But what about rook a8? No, Eric's going for simplification. He's going for simplification. That's going to make it even harder now for Raffael to win in the time, because the reduced material makes him... It's just got less offensive possibilities. Eric's just going to sit there. He's just going to sit there. It's just going to sit there, and it's going to come down to who actually can handle the mouse quicker here.
Yeah, these clocks have been really dead on. They have been about even the whole way.
Yeah, look at this. Up and down with the king, Jeff. Up and down with the king. So I think it's incumbent upon Raffael to do something. So I think we'll see him trying to advance. Eric's just going up and down, up and down. 39 to 34. There goes a pawn. It's funny, you almost don't want to move the pieces too far, because that takes a little microsecond extra. Even that could be significant.
Yeah, no, this is...
Okay, knight there. There is the threat there. Knight threatening that pawn with check. Bishop defends it. Bishop attacks the pawn again. Oh, Eric's right back in this. If he wins that second pawn, he really shouldn't lose the chess. Really shouldn't lose the position. If he wins that pawn, and he's attacking it with bishop and knight, it's going to go. But he's not taking it. That's interesting. He's let him defend it. I wonder why. That's strange. Yep. Raffael swapped that off. Now Raffael's got a chance to win. Now he's got a chance to win. He's got 2 pieces against 1. 1 piece against 0. This is a technical win, but he's only got 7 seconds against 11 to do it. It's just a battle against the clock. Raffael's only chance is to get rid of Eric's 2 pawns, then he won't have material to win. At this point, if Raffael ran out of time, he will lose. He needs to do something. He's not doing it. He needs to take those pawns. All Eric has to do is just hang it. That's it. Your opponent ran out of time. Raffael had to remove those 2 pawns, remove what we call mating material. He'll be disappointed with that. That was a chance. He shouldn't have lost that.
That was important. He's shaking his head, and now... again, it's pretty even in the chips, but still 1-0 to Eric Rosen, and this is or Clash, I should say. I think Raffael realized he let go of a big opportunity here.
Yep.
And there's a fold. You see a fold.
Yep.
So look at this, 13 to 7K, and a total of 20,000 chips in play, so almost a 2-1 lead for Mr. Rosen. So Raffael can't be too selective anymore. He's going to have to kind of make a play. And you can see the big blind already. He's essentially all in here. The big blind is already...
Ooh, big blind is 4.
Okay. Yeah, he's got to go. There's no choice. And he's all in. So we're going to be playing for it here. But if Mr. Rosen were to not win here, he would still have 6,000. So again, pressure now on Raffael all around. He is in a must-win situation.
Well, this is a mighty interesting hand. We've had 2 demotions. You can see 2 purple cards there. 2 cards that were demoted to a pawn. Okay, we've got the same configuration of pawns here that Eric's setting up. He seems to like that pawn chain. Pawns are good in a chain. By a chain, I mean that one defends one, the other defends the other. It's nice and compact. Okay, the knight goes to the f8 square, as the great Danish player Bent Larsen said, with a knight on f8 it can't be mate, but not necessarily in Choker. There we have it. We have the Anna Rudolph. I'm going to call this the Anna Rudolph, after her. She was the first person to set that up. Those 2 knights defending each other. So tough to break down. There goes Eric with the queen. Right, where are we? So we've got... Oh, okay, so there is a little bit of danger here. Raffael's threatening mate in 1. That's not so nice. So Eric Cass. Oh, there's a first, Jeff. I don't think we've ever seen this in Choker before. Certainly not in the Choker Challenge Cup, anyway. That was castling. That's the only time in chess when you're allowed to move two pieces at the same time. The rook moves and the king moves, and your king.
I was going to ask you about that. Why do you think is that just not doesn't make sense so much in this format? Or
there are fewer opportunities to do it in Choker just because of the way the pieces land on the board. But that was the first time I've ever seen it. Wow. Okay.
Does it make sense? Was that a well executed?
I thought it was a great move. Yeah, it gets the king into safety because now the king is surrounded by this pawn constellation and by the bishop. So the king got a lot of safety. A lot of safety. There's also the chance of the rook coming down here, putting pressure, but that would allow queen down to that square, so the bishop covers that square. This is all clever stuff. Okay, we have an invasion. That's sort of, I don't know. I think that's full of fire and fury, signifying nothing. That queen move didn't really do anything, and so Eric says, go on, clear off. Just clear off. The queen at the moment, though, has to protect the bishop from the black queen, which is slightly annoying. Okay, the rook's invading. The rook's invading. He's coming in. He's going to put pressure on this pawn here. Sorry. Going to put pressure on that pawn. That pawn is under pressure. Raffael already using a little bit more time, so the knight comes into an aggressive square, but that leaves a little bit less defense for the king. So maybe a check could be quite annoying here, actually. Queen to their check.
Have been identical, basically. These guys are so close in time.
Well, Eric's having a little think here, Jeff, because he thinks he might be able to see something quite clear. If you could see, he's trying to foresee whether he can see an absolute win from here. So it's worth investing 10 or 15 seconds.
Did his stream cut or freeze? It looks like his time is moving.
Yep, that looks to me like his clock's frozen.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
That's a disconnect.
Oh, the game's still going.
Oh, the game's going on. Interesting.
Disconnect. So maybe we
were just disconnected from them. So we've got queen and knight against queen and rook. This should be winning for Eric. 40-second, and Eric's well ahead on the clock. 17 seconds up on the clock. The knight, though, is a fantastic piece. Beautifully placed there in the center of the board, fulfilling a fantastic defensive role. But can the rook come in? I was wondering about that. It's threatening checkmate in 2. He's threatening checkmate in 2. He's threatening check. On h8, king goes to f7, queen to g8, mate. Yep, now, this is serious. Oh, that doesn't stop it. This could be it. This could be it. I'm sure Eric will see this. Queen in, and king there, and queen there, and that is mate, and that is over. That goes to Eric. That pot goes to Eric. Choke mate.
Boom. Just like that.
So I think Raffael can't meet the big blind there. So Eric goes 2-0 up, Jeff.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to overcome. Raffael, smiling though. He's staying positive. He knows it's been done.
Yep.
Comebacks can happen. 2-0 though. It's,
we missed a few moves there, but effectively what happened was that Eric swapped his bishop for one of Raffael's knights, and he broke that chain. He broke that defensive chain, and then he was able to invade very skillfully with queen and rook and give checkmate with those two what we call heavy pieces.
Yeah, so it looks like the stream broke, but not the game. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. Well, very well played by Eric. I mean, he needed to calculate. I think he invested something like 10 or 15 seconds just making sure that it worked, and he was in. What was interesting was that at the end, Raffael had a queen check, but because Eric had played that castling move, his king was in amongst his 3 pawns, and when he replied to the check with just a simple king move, in chess, when you're given a check, it's either ABC, avoid, block, capture, so he just avoided the check. Raffael didn't have a follow-up, and at that point, Raffael, I think, possibly hadn't noticed that there was a checkmate in 2 threat, and he just played another aggressive move when he had to go defense there, and Eric just, he carried out the checkmate. Very impressive. Raffael certainly under pressure now. Before the hand starts, Jeff, what happens in poker if you disconnect, if you're streaming in a poker match online?
You pull your hair out and ask for forgiveness, but that's it. You just, you're not. There is a disconnect, usually like a time. You get like a certain amount of time where they'll give you a disconnect protection. But yeah, that's if you can't come back on, that's it. You're just going to blind out.
Right. You lose the yeah. Okay, so I had a quick fold there from Eric. Only cost him 500 chips though, so.
All right, so we got a fresh clash.
Knight
here.
and pawn, that's not a good one.
Yeah, much better starting hand so far for Rosen again, although there's the queen.
And a demotion. Eric got a second queen, is demoted to a pawn. But he's the only one with a queen right now.
Yeah, so that actually is relevant, though, right? When you get the queen demoted, it gets demoted, but then there's one less queen, so it's all the more unlikely your opponent has a queen. Is that correct, or does it get reshuffled in?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's right.
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. I'm not positive on that.
We'll check that, maybe. Because actually, you really got to factor that into your odds, haven't you, if that's the case?
It is a less chance your opponent has one, so I guess it's a burned card, essentially. Yeah, it's just off the table.
Because there's only 4 queens in the pack. So there's 44 cards in the Choker pack, 16 pawns, 8 knights, 8 bishops, 8 rooks, and 4 queens. So, yeah. Oh, he's folded. Eric's folded again.
Yeah, so, all right. See a slight lead for Raffael.
2-1, right?
Yeah. Just a little bit better, so.
It's interesting. Eric's not folding on bishop plus pawn or knight plus pawn.
Yeah, very strong hand, the queen right away. Look at this hand. This is a powerful holding for Raffael. Although, look at Eric. I wasn't even paying attention.
No, Eric's better.
He snuck in.
Yeah, Eric's got more points. Eric's got, let me see, 14, 16, 19 points plays. I think 17. No, it's the same. They're the same. Goodness me, they're identical. Okay, so let's see who plays the position better. Is Raffael going to stick to his pawn configuration? Is he going to put his third pawn in the V? No, he's putting it horizontally there. Okay. Eric puts his rook on the open file. That's the best place for it. Raffael putting that knight on F8. That classic defensive knight. Now the queen comes on the edge. That's also recommended by International Byron Jacobs in the Choker book. Queen's got a lot of scope here. Look how it's going all over the place. Nasty. Raffael puts his rook on an open file, threatens to whiz all the way down there. That needs to be dealt with. Probably cover that with a bishop, I guess. Probably cover it with a bishop here. No? Really? That's interesting. Okay, well. Gosh, I think Eric's going to have to go on. Oh, he's setting himself up for castling. Oh, that was cunning. Of course, I didn't see that coming. How stupid of me. He said he put his king and rook in such a position so that he could do the castling again. And once more, he finds himself in that super solid situation. Okay, the knight now wants to come into this square. Maybe Eric will cover that. No, he doesn't bother. He's going for the endgame. He's offering exchange of queens.
Haven't seen castling at all, and all of a sudden starting to be used.
Yeah, you know what they say about London buses? You wait for ages for one, and then 3 come along at once. So
never heard that, but like
so there goes the queen threatening the pawn, but Eric is in. Queen check. That could get properly nasty. King must go here. Raffael must not move to your left. If you're looking at this position, he must not move to his left. If he moves to his left, he'll fall to
Eric's frozen again.
To the old 1-2. And he's gone to the left, but he's going to fall into another 1-2. Bishop coming here. Oh, whoops. This is nasty. That bishop is threatening to come in here and deliver mate in 2 moves. This is already over. Unless I'm missing something, this is incredibly strong. I can't see a defense. Bishop is threatening to go from here along the diagonal to this square, giving a check to the king. The king has no moves. But that just allows bishop takes knight. Bishop takes knight, and if there's a recapture, he loses the queen. Oh, he's got the check. Oh, brilliant defense. Amazing defense. It's still a horrible position, but at least he's avoided immediate calamity. But it's still pretty gruesome. This is almost like Queensberry rules. It's like it's almost as if it's white to go, and he can punch black. He's got a queen right near the king. He's wide open. So I don't know. Queen. Oh, he's going to bring in the reinforcements. Threatening checkmate. Yeah, it did look like a winning position. It was just a winning position in a different way. That's a brilliant move. Well worth checking for 15 of your 180 seconds. And that rook is coming down there round the back. Checkmate. That's 13,000 chips. It will be checkmate. It's mate in maximum 3 here. I would have thought 2. Would have thought 2.
Can he move his queen there, though? Because he protects now if the...
Yeah, but after rook here, I don't see how he defends. He's gone. Rook takes queen. It's over. Yep. So yeah, that was the only move to save it, was rook, queen to the back, but the rook just took the queen, and it was all over. So,
look at that chip swing, and now
yes.
Raffael is at risk here. I mean, this is 2-0 Eric, a must win now for Raffael. I mean, this is it. The pressure's already on. He's got to. He goes for it. Or the check. I mean, this is 2 pawns to start. We were talking about that.
Yep.
He'd want to give up or not, but
does he try and bully him now, Jeff? I mean, with this is a great match situation, isn't it?
You can't bully by calling, and he's in the call now. He's just calling off, and he is all in.
Right.
And that's what he's got to deal with. What he's got to work with. He is, I would imagine, at a deficit. Not a great hand there either.
Oh, goodness. And that was a demoted pawn, so there's a queen coming for Eric somewhere.
Yeah.
We lost sight of Eric's hand for a while when it was being composed, but that was a demoted pawn, so... It's a must-win. Both sides put a knight on the board and a pawn. Still level in material. 2 knights and 2 pawns plays 2 knights and a pawn. Pretty level, depending on what Raphael's got. Okay, he's got a bishop, so he's slightly ahead. But Eric's got a rook to come. Raphael's got a rook to come, excuse me. So he's slightly ahead, but I think he might be disappointed by Eric's final placement. I don't think Raphael's going to enjoy what's about to land, and there it is. Yep, we had that demoted pawn. That was the giveaway, that it was a queen. So Eric really ought to close this out, Jeff. He really ought to close this out. He's got a queen. He's a queen and a bishop for a rook up. He's way ahead on material, so he's 9, 18, 19 points. 19 points on the board against Raphael's, let me see, 7... 13, plus both sides have their starting pawn. I think what we'll see is Eric will start activating his knights. He's got a nasty pin on that knight already with his queen. Just needs to bring another knight in to support it. Bishop there threatening to take the knight and liquidate. This is just a lost position for Raphael. Okay, rook attacks the queen, but queen might just as well retreat along the diagonal, keep the pressure up on that knight. Yeah, that's what it does. You see that channel there, that diagonal? Very unpleasant, means a knight can't move. Okay, so Raphael wants to keep his knight, but if Eric can find a way to put another bit of pressure on that knight with his other knight, and there it comes, it's going to hop into that square, and that will be a terrible blow when that lands. A terrible blow. The threat is knight there, putting extra pressure on the white knight. A double whammy from the queen, and the black knight is coming to hit that knight on e3. I don't see how he defends that rook there, but easily just keep the pressure on. Just keep the queen on the diagonal, keep the pressure on. Don't let him take your queen. Yeah, okay, goes in there. It's also the same, even better. Hits the knight. Knight has to retreat. So we've got the double knight here, but it's going to be unraveled. It's going to be unraveled. Knight there, that's it. It's gradually unraveling. He's just picking him apart, move by move. Okay, that's a clever try. That's a clever try, pinning the knight. Eric has to take a time out and give that knight a little bit of extra defense. Raphael retreats. Gives his knight extra cover. Now maybe Eric can find a way to activate the bishop. He needs to activate the bishop. The bishop is just stuck behind the pawn doing nothing. Or he's bringing the other knight in, threatening to come there. Just methodically taking Raphael's defenses apart. Raphael can't move. He's hardly got any moves. Okay, now this pawn here has become vulnerable because the king has moved away from it. So that's a good move, or just knight there is a good move. Too many good moves here. Oh, he's activating the bishop. Rook check. It's desperation. The queen is going to swing over here and give a check. That's going to be very, very, very unpleasant at some point. Rook's got no choice but to come back and defend the knight. This is winning for Eric now. He's got several ways to win. He's got 72 seconds to do it. He's just sticking to the plan, Jeff, methodically exchanging pieces until he gets down to a situation where it's queen and bishop against rook, which is an overwhelming material advantage. Okay, queen check. Maybe bring the bishop in now. That would be very nasty. Oh, what a finish. Queen takes knight check. Oh, he's doing it in style. He's giving up a queen, but he on the rebound, a knight fork and wins the rook. So this is easy. Now, the winning plan now will be to promote a pawn. Promote a pawn to a new queen. All that Raffael can do is try and exchange all the pawns, but in fact, his last move was a mistake in that regard. Pawn there. He's going to make a pass pawn. This pawn is, we're going to have a touchdown. We're going to have a touchdown. Touchdown on F1. When that pawn, this F pawn, when Freddie the F pawn comes down and lands on F1, that will be it. A new queen will appear on the board. That pawn will be used to deliver checkmate, and this game will be over. This is it. We're in the death throes of this competition now. He wants to resign. Okay, didn't have to, but it was all over. And he's gone. Insufficient funds can't meet the big blind.
Just like that, we see Eric, who had some stream difficulties, but kept his connection and did take it down 3-0. So Raffael, Mr. Chess, the Brazilian crusher, is down 3-0, and that's going to be it. I was a little surprised by a couple of the positions. I thought we were going to see Raffael get one done, but there was a very intense time match that came down early on, and from there, I think it was really just one-sided.
Yeah. In the end, I think the superior chess skill did tell. And so Eric goes forward into the final to play the winner of next week's match, which will be here at the same time, 4 o'clock Eastern time, 9 p.m. UK, 10 p.m. Europe. And we'll see Bill Perkins take on Alexandra Botes for the right to play Eric Rosen in the Choker Challenge Cup final. Well, I think, again, Jeff, we saw some new aspects of Choker that we hadn't seen in the preceding 4 weeks. Castling suddenly reared its head. I'd actually almost forgotten that you could castle in Choker, but we saw Eric very cleverly putting his pieces there to enable him to make that move. Really, really nice.
Yeah, really strong level, high level. Exciting to watch. And next week will be very exciting as well. I feel like every match is getting better and better because a higher level of play and people are understanding Choker more and more. It's really fun to watch.
Jeff, I want to say thank you very much for joining us tonight. Your insights into the poker, I feel like I'm learning. I fancy playing a bit of poker myself soon if I can keep learning from you. Your insights.
You got my number.
Into the odds.
Anytime you want, heads up. I'm available.
But of course, if you want to learn how to play chess and learn how to play poker at the same time, then Choker is the ideal game. Download it from the Apple Store or Google Play. I want to say thank you to Jeff for commentating with me tonight. It's been another great match, and Jeff, I'll see you again same time next week. So stay tuned, and I'm going to go for the interview.
Awesome.
So congratulations, Eric. Very, very smoothly done. I felt on the end in the chessboard, your superior tactical skill it made its appearance.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it was definitely a lot tougher than my first match. I think my Raffael definitely understood some deeper betting strategy.
Yes, that was clear.
And yeah. And my first match, I just got really good cards. Like the first kind of round of each clash, I was just getting amazing cards. Here, there were a lot of hands that kind of had to fold and be patient for when I got something.
Yeah, we noticed there were a lot more folds in this match actually than any of the other matches we've seen. Certainly in your first match against Simon, he was all in most of the time, and we felt you exploited that really well. But there was a lot more finesse in this match, and you had to be patient sometimes, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, of course, I watched Raphael's first match, and I tried to get a sense of his kind of range with betting, and I mean he has a very similar range to me, where he folds or limps with weak hands like pawn or pawn minor piece, and then just plays very aggressively with much higher value hands. So I knew that going into this match, and I could kind of sense like if he was checking, then at the very least I shouldn't be worse.
Right. I also noticed a strategy that you used that no one else did. I think you're the first person to actually castle in the Choker Challenge Cup. So that was a real shock. In fact, I suddenly saw it. I thought, what happened there? Oh, it's castling. I remember about that. Yeah. So
yeah, I was not aware of that when I first started playing, and then I think at some point I just wanted to experiment, see if it's possible. And I guess technically, like the king and the rook haven't moved yet because they're just on their starting squares.
So. Absolutely. I mean, they've sort of made it out of a pack of cards onto the board, but that doesn't constitute a chess move, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I don't think it's like too often that it makes sense to castle, but when you want to play safe, then it's not a bad option to have.
Yeah, I mean, when you had the pawns on e2, f3, and g4, it looked like quite a good setup. So you kind of have the dark squared bishop swimming within the white squared pawn chain, and it's kind of like the white squares covered by the pawns, dark squared covered by the bishop, and felt fairly safe actually. It certainly worked out quite well.
Yeah, I was explaining that on my stream that you want to make sure your bishop harmonizes with the pawns well.
Yes, it's interesting that a bit of positional chess, what we call in chess good bishop and bad bishop, comes into play. That actually beginners in chess often think that you want to have a bishop that's the same colored, working on the same colored square as your pawns, because it can protect them, but actually those pawns inhibit its mobility, right? So we prefer to have a bishop operating on an opposite color. What do you make of the setup at the beginning in Choker with two knights defending each other? How do you feel about that? That's made a lot of appearances, particularly when one side has less material at the beginning.
So you mean like superfluous knights, like just knights, or knights defending the king?
Yeah, knights. So say if you've got less material or you've got a fairly weak hand, you'll kind of put knights on d8 and f7 or something like that. That seems to be a strategy that quite a few people have used.
Yeah, definitely. I think, a knight next to the king is one of the best defensive mechanisms in open positions.
Yes.
And in endgames, especially when queens are on the board. And he used that, I think, in one of the games, we had a knight on f8, king on f7. And it was very hard for my queen to infiltrate. That's
right. Well, I think I was saying on our stream that Bent Larson once sent with a knight on f8, it can't be mate. But that doesn't necessarily seem to be true in Choker all of the time, as you demonstrated. There was one game that seemed real interesting when I thought it was just going to come down to the clock because absolutely nothing was happening. And there it just seemed to me that the best kind of moves were just the moves, any move that you could play real quick. It was just the best move, really. It was quite weird.
Yeah, I think that was a game where I was just down like a minor piece for a pawn.
Exactly.
And then, the strategy is just to survive and not trade minor pieces, but trade pawns.
Yes.
And of course, towards the end, I wanted to keep at least one pawn on the board for sufficient mating material for the flag.
Indeed. I think actually he had a chance, didn't he, that when he was up a knight in one game and he should have just removed your two pawns when he was running out of time, and then he would have got a draw, I think, in one game, but he ended up losing on time, I think.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I guess he made up for it the first game.
Oh, the fork! That was amazing.
Flagging and losing on the board, and he forked me and took my flag.
No, that was impressive because the amazing thing. I mean, kudos to Raffael Santos, Mr. Chess in Brazil, because he doesn't actually have an official rating. I asked him before, I sent him a message, what is your official rating? Because trying to find someone's FIDE rating when their name is Santos is a bit of a struggle on the website. And I just wondered if he had a rating. But actually, no, he doesn't have a chess rating at all. So actually, he's an immensely talented, I think, for someone who doesn't have an official rating.
Which is incredible, yeah. I mean, I knew he's a strong player. Like, he outplayed Anna Rudolph in the first round.
Yes.
And I did look him up on chess.com, and I think he's around like 2,300 in Blitz. So I knew it was definitely going to be a challenge.
Great. So, well, you're in the final, I guess, because we know you're very methodical. You told us in advance in your pre-tournament interview that you prepare for every opponent. So I'm sure you'll be watching the next broadcast at the same time, next Thursday, the 11th of June. We've got Bill Perkins against Alexandra Bote. So International Master Eric Rosen, congratulations. You're in the Choker Challenge Cup final. Thanks very much.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Okay. Take care.
All right, and a reminder to everyone, get involved with Choker. Download the game. It's free to play from the Apple Store or Google Play. Thanks very much, everyone.